Hello, hello, hello. I am Coach J, known as Mr. J, known as an intrapersonal relationship coach, known as a betrayal trauma practitioner, known as a father of two, and much more. I always start my classes with a corny dad joke because I am a father of two. So today's is this. My wife crashed the car while listening to Adele last night. She ended up rolling in the Jeep. I guess you have to be an Adele fan to get that joke. Anyways, if you want to take two deep healing breaths with me in through the nose, out through the mouth, if your eyes are closed, which is preferable if you feel safe, and out through the mouth. One more time, breathe in all that healing oxygen and get rid of all the chaos, stress, and anxiety. All right. One of the most often asked questions from the betrayed spouse, if you can ask this, is my partner telling the truth? And when given your partner, and even when your partner does tell you the truth, in many cases you wonder, are they telling me everything? If you suspect your partner is not telling you the truth, you have a sensitive situation at hand. It's simply that they could in fact be lying to you. And if all this is true, then you have to find out if they're telling you the truth. It could cause considerable stress because what if you're wrong? And a lot of times when you're with somebody who kind of gaslights you and manipulates you, or they're a narcissist, you get out of touch with your intuition and your gut. So it's very difficult to distinguish what is true and what is not. And if they lie, if you know for a fact that they've breached trust in your relationship, then you will face a certain amount of angst, anxiety, and fear about asking them. One of the biggest recommendations I have is to listen to your own perceptions and trust that inner radar. You know, I've heard before that God speaks to, when we talk to God, it's through prayer. When God talks to us, it's through our intuition. If you ask your partner about what your concerns are, something that they did, or maybe a person that they're speaking to, or etc., and while you listen to them, you may feel this gut feeling, and ask, are they telling me the truth? If you experience this while they're talking to you, you have a problem. Again, 9 times out of 10, I always say your gut doesn't lie. However, when you've been with somebody who's kind of been manipulating you or gaslighting you or a narcissist or hiding things for so long, you kind of lose touch with that relationship you have with your intuition. So at this stage, you have to admit this, if only to yourself. Many dismiss this point. If something inside of you makes you feel like they're not being completely honest, you just simply cannot just let it go. It will fester and eat you up and tear you up. So here are some potential red flags that might help you face this question. Is your partner communicating with you less? Is your partner to the point where you feel like they've changed, or they've changed towards you? Does your partner get nervous or irritated more easily than he or she used to? Do you get the distinct feeling that sometimes they're hiding something from you? That's really a tell-all right there. Is that, sometimes we're sitting there and like, man, everything's fine. I can't put my finger on anything, but just something seems off. Something seems off. Now, a lot of us, if we get real and raw, we can almost identify what's raw, what's off. But there's other things at play. There's, betrayal blindness. There's, other things too at play, which I'll go into another time. Do you feel like there's more critical comments in your direction? Is your partner more critical, or, more, puts you down or dismisses you, trying to make you feel less to some extent? Is your partner accusing you of things that you haven't done? Or better yet, are they accusing you of things you're accusing them of? That's a great tactic many people try to play. When you ask your partner, do you get the feeling that you are brushed off and the answer is not honest? Did you notice that your partner is showing interest and admiration towards someone else? The point here is not to accuse your partner of things, that, especially if they haven't done them, but simply to spot the red flags if they're actually present in your relationship and when you're asking your partner these questions. Now, remember, at this point, we're just trying to find out what is happening. If you've answered yes to any of the questions I just asked, it doesn't mean that he or she is being unfaithful or having secrets or, what have you. It just means, again, that these are some red flags to kind of put into the basket of whatever decisions you want to make moving forward, whether it's, you want to find out some more information before you ask these questions or what have you. The next step after this is for you to make a decision that no matter what, you will step and find out what is the actual truth. And this could be hard, like I said, because a lot of times we're thinking, geez, if I find out the truth, what are the ramifications of that? For instance, I was talking to somebody the other day, not here on PBT, somebody outside, and they like, I'm in my late 60s and we're about to retire. And if I retire, I don't know about my financial future. So I might have to stay with this person, because I'm in my late 60s and we've built a nest, but I have a feeling they're unfaithful. So, there's a lot that comes with this. So again, you have to make a decision what you will do to find out if they're hiding something from you. And if they are hiding something from you, what is your next step? Is it rebuilding? Is it leaving? Is it, what is your next step? This is a vital part of understanding how deep the issue is. If there's another person that they're secretly texting or talking to, and they're hiding this from you, of course, it could be extremely disturbing. It is disturbing not only because they say that there's no one else or they're not doing this, which is a lie, but also because they're hiding this person as well. I always say this, people, I don't want to throw stats out there that, I can't verify, but a good majority of people that I talk to that make a decision to stay after lies or infidelity is great. And that can happen. What can't happen is the lies afterwards. If people are going to continue and lie and continue to manipulate and continue and blame shift and continue and minimize and continue and make excuses, that's not going to fly. People can get over a lot of times an act. You can't get over continuous lies. Anyways, the handling for this is not easy because people unfortunately don't just fess up. If you ask little Billy if he took a cookie out of the jar, his response is always no. And I say this because, sometimes not only the response is no, but they like to play with your emotions, especially boys. It's like, and I can speak for boys because I am one. A lot of times, unfortunately, you have to ask us a specific question. Like for instance, did you take a cookie out of the cookie jar? No. But really what we did was we took out 99% of a cookie. There was just a little bit that fell off. So we can justify, no, we didn't take the whole cookie because it wasn't the whole cookie. Whole cookie wasn't there. So no, I didn't take a cookie. So you have to really ask specific questions. Did your hand in any capacity whatsoever go into the cookie jar, period, no matter if you took anything or not? Unfortunately, men are tall children. You got to get specific. And there's a lot of women out there too that play the game and try to manipulate. So I'm just not, pointing fingers at men. I always advise people to sit down with their partner and discuss this in a very calm demeanor as possible. Ask your partner this, or just tell them, I need to talk to you about something. I might be completely wrong or off about this. And, but, just something in my core doesn't feel good. And I'm asking, that you help me out. Let's help each other, help me calm my, thoughts or concerns or anxiety if I'm off. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but I need to know if you're seeing somebody else outside the relationship. Are you talking to somebody else outside the relationship? Are you texting with somebody outside the relationship? Again, you got to get kind of very specific, especially if you're talking to guys. Is there anyone on your social media that you've reached out to that I don't know? And I wouldn't even go as far as saying the opposite sex, because I was talking to somebody not too long ago, again, not from PBT, and male, female, and the husband was telling the wife, listen, on my grave, on our children's souls, you are the only woman in my life. I'm not lying to you. You are the only woman in my life. And he was absolutely telling the truth. He was absolutely telling the truth. However, he was lying by omission because on the weekends he was out messing around with guys. So he was telling the truth, absolutely. But she didn't ask a specific question and he didn't fess up. Now you may think that, there's some loaded questions that he or she will do what what they usually do, which is lie or lie by omission or blame shift or, whatever. But you have to have the courage to ask. You have to have the courage to ask. Again, understanding what the risk is. Sometimes people are like, you know what, the risk is too much and I don't have the courage to ask because the outcome is going to be far too challenging, and that's your right. That's your right. But ideally, just for the integrity of the relationship and both parties, it would be good to ask. If you don't, then you're condoning it by at least not calling it into question. If you approach it right, like, I was asking some of the questions above, you have at least let them know that you could be off the mark or that something is a little off, period. If they do, wind up telling you you're wrong, or if they get angry or defensive or critical, or you're asking in a very calm demeanor and they're responding to you at a rocket high emotion, chances are they're hiding something. Yeah, you might want to dig a little deeper. Many couples try to handle this on their own, and it turns into a cat and dog fight of the worst kind. If you are at this stage in your relationship, I suggest that you definitely arm yourself with more tools and have a plan regarding if you are going to stay or leave. Listen, there's a lot of people that stay after infidelity. They stay and they rebuild, and people leave affairs and they stop their addictive behavior and whatever. And then there's also people that, come to a compromise. Listen, maybe we'll have a polyamorous situation, or maybe we'll just live in separate bedrooms. You do you, I'll be me, but we'll still be legally married. I mean, whatever. That wouldn't be for me, certainly, but it's for some people. All right. The next step is to overcome the fear of confronting your partner because of the ramifications if you do. So this is where most couples really freeze, especially if confronting your partner means they're going to lose something significant, especially people with young kids. It's like, I don't want to confront my wife. I don't want to confront my husband, because then if we separate, my kids go without, a parent, whatever. So anyways, if they confront their partner, then, what if it leads to divorce? What if I cannot manage financially? What about my family knowing? What about the kids? What about other ramifications? Am I going to have to move? I'm not going to see my neighbors. I mean, property division. There's a lot. Bottom line, however, is you have to make a decision as to whether or not you can go on living like this. Listen, can you go on living the rest of your life knowing something's going on, but just not addressing it? Without question. But that's kind of like a cancer cell that you're not investigating. I mean, it's going to bother you and disrupt you and burden you if you don't. You might think it's easy. It's not at all. None of this is easy. Many couples stay in unhealthy relationships because of those ramifications, such as kids, finances, property, family. But you have to make that decision first. Again, you can absolutely continually live with that elephant in the room and just not talk about it. But the elephant's going to wind up smelling, and you're just going to have a foul smell in your marriage or your relationship. You must decide, no matter what it takes, you have the courage to get the truth and restore trust and honesty in your relationship. Even if you guys work things out, or even if you go your separate ways, trust and honesty is key and critical. If your partner is cheating on you in any capacity, this change in your relationship, this will change your relationship dynamic forever, but it doesn't have to be necessarily negative. A lot of times, people actually are in affairs, are doing addictive behavior. And it's very psychologically similar to cutting themselves, because a lot of people get into affairs or do addictive behavior because they want to numb, distract, avoid, cope with something, just like people kind of cut themselves, they're trying to numb, distract, or avoid something. So a lot of times when you confront somebody and you get them out of their behavior, whether it's an affair or an addiction, they actually look different. They look healthier. They look calmer, because it's like, wow, thank you for getting me out of that dark shame, secret and shame. Now you have to deal with the ramifications of all that hurt, but the other partner is like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not living in that anymore. I just wanted to be free from all those lies. Nothing healthy comes out of a relationship filled with lies. Nothing at all. Lies are like a virus, a poison that permeates the relationship. This feeling if you've experienced it, and we've probably all experienced this to some capacity. But if you don't confront it, it brings into question other areas of life. Like I said, what about the kids? You know, if you split up or separate, can you handle things financially? What about your extended family? Some people are so much closer to their in-laws than they are their own siblings, you know, and it's like, then what? It's like your in-laws, there's a good chance they're going to kind of side with your spouse. That's their blood. But you've been, you know, so it can get tricky. Often there's parents and in-laws that are enormously affected. I mean, sometimes, like in my case, I am far, far more invested in my in-laws than my own parents. That would be devastating to me if I ever left my marriage on many levels, but because like my in-laws don't even call me a son-in-law, they call me their son. I mean, you know, like, anyway, it's a whole other thing. If you can navigate your relationship waters, if you can do this, you know, with your kids and your family and your in-laws, whatever, especially if there's an affair, you could definitely dramatically change the plans for the future. Because a lot of times you can leave and go your separate ways and still have these wonderful relationships, you know, with outside people. It just can get a little tricky, especially when you start introducing new people into the relationship after yours, you know, goes sour. All right. So the next step, because I keep trailing off, I apologize. The next step is to overcome your fear of their reaction when you ask them if they're telling the truth. This is big. This is big because fear is a big motivator. Fear is probably our biggest motivator. I mean, think about it. How many of us didn't write that book because of fear? How many of us didn't open up that business because of fear? How many of us didn't take that big move because of fear? Fear is a big motivator. And it's good because it could keep us safe, but it also kind of keeps us down with necessary things. People don't confront their partners because of their reactions or fallout that would occur if they do. But anytime you feel in your bones that your partner is lying to you, you have to confront them. Many don't ask for a reason based on fear. You know, he'll kill me if I ask him about this, or she'll never let me hear the end of this if I ever ask her this question. You know, people have so many rude and demoralizing reactions to finding out the truth that they simply do not want to ask. They don't avoid this. I mean, you know, if you're with somebody, or you have been with somebody, or you will be with somebody, and you ask this question, they start to, you know, are you crazy? What kind of person are you that would ask me something like this? Are you doing something behind my back? Now I got to worry about you, because you're, next thing you know, they will turn this around on you, and you start thinking like, oh my God, am I a crazy loon? You know, but you got to ask. You got to ask, even at the expense of them calling you a crazy loon. And here's why. It's your own personal integrity and the integrity of your relationship that's at stake. When you ignore these feelings, you feel bad, and you bring this negative energy into the marriage, into the relationship. That's because you violated your own integrity. I would much rather ask 100 different partners 100 different times if they're doing something they shouldn't, than not ask one partner if they're doing something and they are. If you ask, you are in truth to keeping your own integrity and the integrity of your relationship and your marriage. And listen, you would want your partner or spouse to ask you the same thing if you, for whatever reason, ever decided to step outside the relationship. You'd want to be held accountable. So you want to hold them accountable. By asking, you can handle at any point, you can the breach of integrity. Sorry. The last step here before I end this class is sitting down with your partner and having that heart-to-heart conversation. Hopefully their heart is open as well. But these are some of the questions that you, this is the time you do ask these questions. So remember, always approach this in a calm, caring manner, because once emotions get elevated and heated, then, you know, we're no longer thinking logically. We're thinking emotionally. That doesn't go well. This is very important when there has been especially a betrayal of trust, broken trust, because we feel violated, we feel angry, we feel hurt, we feel used, abused, lied to, manipulated. They feel exposed. So it's easily going to elevate emotions. So there's 4 things that can happen at this point. Number one, your partner has an honest conversation with you and shows you that he or she has nothing to hide. They truly make you feel reassured by going over anything at all, going above and beyond, making you feel absolutely secure that they are not cheating, they are not doing anything they shouldn't be doing. Number two, they can get defensive. They start to criticize you or make you out to be wrong or say you're crazy. Remember, if they do these things, if emotions are especially unnecessarily high, if they get angry, if they start shouting, getting dismissive, blame shifting, I can almost assure you that they're hiding something. Three, they could lie to your face with the calmest demeanor and reassure you that there's nothing going on, but you're still left with an uncanny feeling of being misled. Again, there is a way to approach that, but you are going to need some tools for that. So you might still walk away from this saying, okay, they gave me their all, just something's still not off. And there's, you have to sort this out. Is your intuition off? Or, because of whatever reasons, it's just a much bigger conversation. Or four, because of you are reassuring and you are reassuring them and in a comforting manner, they do muster up the courage and confess that something is wrong. It's going to shock you. It's going to make your worst fears come true. At this point, even if you want to scream or cry or throw a frying pan, you need to understand something, that they were definitely solving the wrong problem with the wrong solution. This is a very touchy topic here, but when a secret comes out, both party are hurting tremendously. Now, the party that got betrayed is so angry, they understandably cannot think of, or understand the other person's hurt. But I always say, happy, healthy, healed people do not step out of a relationship. There is something wrong, very traumatized, very disconnected. Again, the person that's betrayed is like, I don't care. They still made a decision, and they did. But just from a therapeutic standpoint, both parties are hurting, and hurting badly. To be honest, they've gotten misinformation and have been miseducated from the very culture they live in. I mean, now, especially nowadays, like, oh my gosh, like songs lift up affairs and enforce and encourage, people to step outside their marriage and stuff. So, then there's trauma, and then there's, stresses, and then there's self-esteem things. And, so there's a lot at play for this. But this includes their friends, books, and films, like I just said, that encourage dishonest behavior. Unfortunately, again, no excuse. There is no excuse. I say this all the time, and I'm going to probably die with this motto. Unless somebody is holding a gun to somebody's head, there's no justifiable reason to cheat. Unless somebody says, cheat or I'm going to pull the trigger, and even then, that's debatable. There's no, trauma, you name it, it doesn't matter. All right, anyways, let's see here. Like I just said, absolutely nothing is an excuse. Nothing is an excuse at all. But there is a viewpoint to help you understand their side. Just a viewpoint, just to understand. But if they do have a sense of decency and responsibility, they do want to make a change. And this is their first step, which is being honest with you. Understand this is an act of courage that they fessed up, and whatever you think in the moment that you want to say or do, at this point, I suggest you keep calm. If you're into it, thank them for being honest with you, because listen, whether you stay is going to be your decision. Even if there are those other ramifications, you might lose some insurance, you might lose some vacation money, you might lose some retirement money, you might lose the kids, you might lose, there's ramifications. But if you stay, there's a good majority of that is your decision. If you leave, a good majority of that is your decision. So you can still thank somebody for being honest, because that's not going to, sway necessarily with your decision making. You can still make the decisions you want. Of course, usually people don't thank the other person for saying they cheated on you. They usually flip the table and flip out. But anyway, either way, at one point, you both will need to make a decision on how you want to go about handling this situation. Take your time, however, there's usually no rush. People that oftentimes they find out the minute somebody was unfaithful, they're like, I'm out of here, and they leave. Well, wait a minute. Even if you do decide to leave, which by all means, if you do leave, but you still want to get your affairs in order. So, sleep on the couch or throw the partner out if they'll go out, whatever, while you're working on your affairs. Then you can say, okay, it's been 4 months. I see no change in you. I say no change in my heart. My affairs are in order. Hasta la vista, baby. All right. Like I said, there's no rush, and the more education you get on, why they stepped out or why you stepped out, if you're watching this and you're the one that stepped out, to understand, to make an educated decision moving forward. Listen, even if you're going to leave and you got to talk to a lawyer, you got to bring a lawyer all the proof you have. So, I mean, there shouldn't be a rush to leaving a situation, unless of course you're in an abusive situation. Absolutely. So I know I was all over the board with this class. I apologize. I gave you a lot, but I hope you got something out of this class. And if you didn't, feel free to share this information with somebody else who may need it.